Knight Rider won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
48 hours. That's 2 days.
Yeah, it is, Adam. That's really good for you. Adam, you've always been really good at time.
Time, yeah, time is a thing with me.
That's your hobby. You're a time guy.
I'm a timist.
Time nerd.
Yeah. Time nerd. That's true, actually. I love time travel.
Ooh, 48 hours, man.
No time travel in 48 hours, unfortunately.
Roxanne.
Take yourself back to 1982.
Ooh.
April 1st, the 1982 invasion of the Falkland Islands begins when Argentine forces land near Stanley, beginning the Falklands War.
You know what's crazy about that? Because they landed on the 1st.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, this has got to be an April Fool's joke. And so they were just laughing and laughing. And that's how they won so quickly, is because they weren't prepared. Wow. They just were like, April Fools.
Quickly being it lasted 74 days.
Pretty quick.
907 casualties. It was the talk of 1982.
It
just went on forever.
Yeah, and it was everybody... The Falkland Island, there's that whole joke about,
Yeah.
Everybody did the Scottish thing. The Falkland Island.
The Falkland Islands.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The
it's
funny
very
thing...
big in British. Like, I watch British shows a lot.
Yeah,
the BBC. I'm very cultured, Adam.
Oh, are you?
The
British, one thing you are?
Yes. It stands for the British Broadcasting...
the British Broadcasting Corporation, Jim.
Yes, thank you.
I know that, and I don't even watch it.
But a lot of the guys... The oldies, they talk about the time in the Falklands.
Yeah, it was interesting because even though Argentina invaded and they technically lost, they still kind of claimed the island.
Yeah, it was a whole, yeah.
The island is like, we still kind of are British, so like nothing really happened.
It was like the British mini Vietnam kind of. Nothing really happened. Some people died. It was really dumb. On both sides.
The reason it was such big news is because a lot of countries sided with either Argentina or England, and it was like kind of coming close to national or global disaster kind of like thing, which it never did, obviously.
And they ended up determining the winner by a football match.
Yeah.
And by football, I mean soccer for all you American
So I assume Argentina won?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But Argentina's better. I'm just saying.
Sometimes,
They got good footballers.
Yes. Well, you and I.
Yeah,
soccer fanatics.
I'm all about that football.
Football.
August 17th, the first compact discs are produced in Germany.
Das ist good, yeah.
Yeah. Compact disc.
Yeah, that's how you say it? Is that how you say it in German?
In German. Compact disc.
Nice. Okay.
You have to add that at the end.
You're,
my German heritage.
Well, no, I was going to say, your Rosetta Stone's really paying off.
It is.
Got that for Christmas.
So it's September 19th. The first emoticons are posted by Scott Fallman.
Posted where?
The internet. It was at that time it was DARPA, but they created emoticons. So emojis have been around for a long time. They just weren't really used until
because nobody was
30
using
years
the net.
later.
That was just like for intergovernmental nerds.
He would just send little emoticons of nuclear mushrooms, like mushroom clouds, and be like, "We're all gonna die." Yeah.
That sounds depressing.
It was. December 8th, 48 Hours is released in theaters. Such a weird soundtrack.
That's my my steel drum.
Oh, yeah. Though it is predated by Richard Rush's Freebie and the Bean. With James Caan and Alan Arkin.
Great movie.
The film is often credited as being the first in the buddy cop genre that included Lethal Weapon, Bad Boys, Rush Hour, a billion other movies.
There's no bigger tough guy than Alan Arkin.
Well, somebody had to play the not tough guy. I'm sure he was the Bean. Or Freebie? I don't know. I've never seen Freebie and the Bean.
I've seen Freebie and the Bean, and honestly, I can't remember.
It just sounds like a bad morning DJ show.
This is Freebie and the Bean. Coming at you.
WKTC,
Ohio.
There you go.
Boise.
Surrounding areas. Boise, Ohio?
Yeah, haven't you ever been to Boise,
No.
Ohio? I don't know, man. All those places just bleed together.
Outside of California, they don't exist. They're just all the same.
Hey, there's New York.
I'm sorry. Outside of the coasts. Okay, so Lawrence Gordon, the famous producer who produced a billion movies in the 80s, came up with the original idea for the film way back in like 1971.
Nice.
Long time previous. The original premise had the governor of Louisiana's daughter kidnapped by a criminal who strapped dynamite to her head and threatened to blow her up in 48 hours if the ransom was not met.
That was 100% 100% a 70s cop movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
just like Dirty Harry, which is like the guy's gonna blow up a bus. So Dirty Harry doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
it was just like mass casualties.
well, it was always some sort of crazy terrorist event in the 70s. Like, they're going to take a train. It was like, go big or go home, baby.
Well, it's when, they first started, like, I guess they did it before, but stealing planes and stuff. Like, it became really big in the 70s. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, stealing planes, yeah.
Yes. There was a lot of hijackings.
Airjacking.
To Cuba?
Yeah.
To
yeah.
Cuba?
The Mideast and all that weird stuff. Yeah. We talked about this before. The 70s was this time where it was like, suddenly it was like, hey, we can talk about all this true crime. And people, it's like, nope, if it bleeds, it leads.
70s was the unicorn decade, nice. Yeah. It's the unicorn decade.
Yeah.
It was everything that was wonderful and awful all wrapped into one, and nobody gave a crap about anything.
No. So the meanest cop goes to the worst prison in the state and gets out the most vicious criminal for his knowledge of the kidnapper who was his cellmate. And that was the only thing they kept from the original premise, except he's not the meanest and he's not, but it's essentially him going to get a prisoner and
the grumpiest cop.
Yeah. So he had that idea back in 1971. A few writers worked on the project. In 1975, Gordon was making Hard Times with writer-director Walter Hill and editor Roger Spottiswoode. Spottiswoode, who went on to, or he wanted to direct, and Hill suggested he break in by writing a script.
Oh man, I feel so bad for Spottiswoode because
Why?
in camp or when he was in, especially when he would like get up. When you you got them when you can't control your bonies.
I can spot his wood.
Yeah, spot his wood, spot his wood. Spot his wood. That's why he's so successful.
You would have been that guy yelling that
100%.
at Roger.
The reason why he was so successful is to get back at those bullies who spot his wood.
Of course.
But they would say, can't spot his wood. It's all too little. You can't spot his wood. No. That's what we used to do to him. I was in his class.
Okay.
It was brutal.
He did a draft of 48 Hours supervised by Walter Hill for Columbia Pictures, who had financed Hard Times. Roger Spottiswoode was the editor for Straw Dogs, fantastic Dustin Hoffman movie by Sam Peckinpah, who it was very brutal and very violent.
Peter Vaughn was
amazing. It was a great movie, absolutely great movie. It's hard to watch, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
He eventually went on to direct Shoot to Kill, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, which is just not a good movie, but it's one of my favorite movies.
Tom Berenger is like
and Sidney Poitier. Yeah, Sidney Poitier is a cop who goes
FBI, right?
Yeah, he's an FBI guy, and he has to get the tracker, which is Tom Berenger, to find the killer. It had one of the greatest openings ever where they're trying to kill him, and he kidnaps the lady, and he puts a blanket over him, and they're walking, and they don't know who to shoot, and like it was such a good thriller. Roger Spottiswoode also directed Turner and Hooch, and the Sylvester Stallone classic Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That was in like 92, I think. He didn't direct much after that.
Yeah, because that movie was so bad. Poor Estelle Getty,
Yeah.
Come on, Mom. What are you doing, Mom? Don't shoot, Mom. Come on. That's the whole movie.
I know.
She's just shooting a gun.
There's no reason to watch it
either. No. That was so annoying.
Yeah, that seems to be an ongoing thing. The 80s and 90s movies.
Just shot that revolver like it had 1,000 bullets. Stop shooting, Mom.
Stop or my mom will shoot forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Walter Hill wrote The Getaway, which is based on the Jim Thompson novel.
Yeah, it's the original one, right?
The original.
The one with real life. Wasn't Ally McGraw and Stephen Queen, weren't they together?
It was the original Getaway. It was not the remake with the
Alec Baldwin and Kim
No,
Basinger.
it wasn't even. Was it Alec? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought it was one of his brothers.
Yeah, because they were married and at the time, and it was like,
not.
ooh, were they really doing it during the doing it scenes? And it was like,
it's really too bad because the novel is incredible.
Wow. Every Jim Thompson novel is great, man. Yeah. They're batshit effing crazy, dude.
Yeah.
They're pretty much like kind of crazy standard noir,
but
up until the end. But then the end, it's just like, I think I've said this before. I think he just like shot up and started writing his ending because they were like, where'd that guy come from? What? The aliens?
I love Jim Thompson. This is why I brought it up. He
died penniless.
Yeah.
He didn't have any success until after
really too bad. Yeah. I mean, he did a lot of anyway, we'll have a whole Jim Thompson.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But Walter Hill also wrote and directed The Warriors, which was his biggest hit previous to this.
Come out and play.
Which like half the cast, 48 Hours, was in The Warriors. So I mean,
James Rebar.
Yeah, Rebar. He went on to write and direct after 48 Hours. He went on to write and direct Red Heat, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Last Man Standing, starring Bruce Willis. And he came up with the story for Aliens and wrote the script for Alien 3 while producing all 4. Not even all 4. He literally, anything that had to do with aliens, Walter Hill produced it.
Nice. You know, Last Man Standing is a super awesome, underrated movie.
Oh,
it
100.
is
Yes,
such a cool,
crazy awesome.
It's a Western that takes place in the 30s, and it's basically Bruce Willis comes in as like this hitman, gunslinger kind of guy.
Yeah.
But it's like the 30s bootlegging times.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And it's like him versus the mob and this. It's so good. If you haven't seen it.
Oh my God. The last scene is like 40 minutes long.
Oh,
it's just this giant shootout, and it's incredible.
It is really
incredible.
Good. And Red Heat was pretty bad.
Yeah, Red Heat was not good, but you know.
Was that the one with Jim Belushi?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Jim Belushi and all those walls.
Schwarzenegger was like essentially.
I'm from Russia.
They were like
me.
FBI version, whatever, in
Yes.
Soviet Russia, and then Belushi was like a cop, and
Jim Belushi and I'm Russian.
It was when they were trying to do. It was kind of a bastardization of the buddy cop movies. They were trying just to put everything into everything.
What if we put a Russian and an American together? That'd be crazy.
It's like a fish out of water. Woo! Yeah. So the film 48 Hours moved from Columbia to Paramount, who wanted to do a draft for Clint Eastwood. They hired Hill to rewrite the script with Eastwood as the criminal.
That would be cool.
He did so, but he said...
But when I turned it in, I said that I didn't think it would work.
He also added...
The best idea would be to make Richard Pryor the criminal and have someone like Eastwood play the cop. Back in 78 or 79, no one seemed to think this was such a good idea.
So Eastwood passed and ended up playing a criminal and escaped from Alcatraz instead.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. As a result, 48 Hours went into limbo for 2 years. Eventually, Lawrence Gordon called Walter Hill and asked him if he would make the flick with Nick Nolte as Cates the cop. Hill said...
Paramount felt that the combination of Nick Nolte and a good black actor would be commercial.
And he added...
What happened is very simple. Richard Pryor is now an enormous movie star, and that's changed everybody's mind about black lead players.
Hill envisioned a more improvisational film than he'd ever created.
The story is traditional urban thriller. 2 terrible guys are out there and have to be brought down.
He added,
But even though I enjoy working in genres, the point is always to exploit them or give them a transfusion. So I made a very conscious decision to go with the elements and personality of the 2 players rather than be overtly genuflective to the narrative. Thrusting a white policeman and a black convict together carries so much gravity, they didn't have to beat the black and white thing to death. If it works, it's because the actors' personalities.
So essentially, they decided to make it a black actor, and first person they wanted to use was Richard Pryor.
Yeah, of course.
And because he was huge at that time, and he was just huge. Of course, Pryor turned it down because he was now doing leads. He had no reason to be second banana to Nick Nolte, and it really wasn't. I mean, it is their movie, obviously, and Eddie Murphy definitely made it more his movie.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was a dumb. I'm sorry, Richard Pryor, but dumb decision because I know you like playing leads.
Yeah,
but you pick awful effing movies, man.
The same day that 48 Hours opened was Richard Pryor's The Toy.
I saw The Toy. I saw all these movies. Something else came out at the same time, too. That was like Airplane
2, the sequel.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that weekend seeing all 3 of those movies.
Wow.
And being, even at that age as a young boy, being super creeped out by The Toy. There was just something...
I really liked that movie when I was growing up, but I also wasn't very aware of... bad racial stereotypes and
that
things.
was awful. And then just like them and their
yeah.
weird Spider-Man jammies running around. It just seemed untoward.
It was very weird. Yeah, it was very weird.
And then also Airplane 2 was a bit of a disappointment too.
Yeah, couldn't capture the original.
Even though it had.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk is
William Shatner.
William Shatner. Yeah,
Captain
Kirk played William Shatner. That was really interesting. But the best of the best, baby, was 48 Hours.
Of course,
I
of
love
course
that
it
movie.
was. Hill's first choice after Richard Pryor was Gregory Hines.
It was huge at the time. Have you ever seen the movie Wolfen?
No, I don't think I have.
Ooh, Wolfen's a really cool.
It sounds really familiar, but I don't think.
It's not. It's kind of a werewolf movie, but it's more of a. What is the Native American shapeshifter?
The Wendigo.
Kind of a Wendigo,
Yeah.
but they turn it. I don't know if it's a Wendigo because they turn into wolves. They don't.
Yeah.
Necessarily turn into the Wendigo one. But there's a young Edward James Olmos is the guy,
Oh.
he gets
Oh,
all
yeah,
nuded
yeah.
up, and they think he's turning into a wolf, but it's really not. It's a really good movie though.
Yeah,
It's him
yeah.
and man, old guy, great actor. Don't remember, don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Show ain't about him.
It doesn't matter. But Richard Gregory Hines was not available, so Hill's then girlfriend and future wife, Hildy Gottlieb, recommended her client, Eddie Murphy, then best known for his work on SNL.
Oh yeah, and what a stroke of luck. This is how it kind of happens in all these stories. It's just there's so much luck involved.
Yeah, just
And-
chance.
and I'm not gonna say nepotism, but just like, hey, I know this guy who, and you
Yeah.
gotta have the talent to back it up.
Of course.
I'm not discounting anybody. There's a lot of people that get the shot that don't deserve the shot.
right.
But this kid deserved the shot.
He-
this was just
Yeah.
smart thinking on her part, and then smart response in his.
Eddie Murphy was the epitome of someone who saw an opportunity and milked it for everything he could.
He was the human version of a rocket ship, baby.
Yeah, he knew that if he got on this movie, he would learn so much, he would become better,
Yes.
and that it was his gateway into becoming a huge superstar.
he was always 2 steps ahead, even at
Yep.
a young age. Because he wasn't even 21
No, he was 20 when he first started shooting this.
when he first
yeah.
started shooting this.
Yeah.
Couldn't even have a drink. He had never
Yeah.
had a sip of alcohol in his life.
I mean, it's possible. The character of Reggie Hammond that Murphy plays was originally named Willie Biggs, but Murphy felt that it was too stereotypical of a black man's name and changed it to Reggie Hammond.
Willie Biggs.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Reggie kind of, I think, has become actually kind of stereotypical as well, but I think a lot of it's because of this movie.
Well, I think Reggie Jackson probably was
Probably.
the gateway to the Reggie name.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of respect.
Yeah, sure. Stephen E. D'Souza worked on the script for a few weeks after Eddie Murphy was cast. He was brought on because they wanted to add more comedy to it. And Walter Hill was not super thrilled with D'Souza's work.
Yeah, Walter Hill, he's a picky guy. He
Yeah.
knows what he wants, and he knows. A lot of people call him a grump or
Yeah,
whatever, but I
yeah.
just think he's serious. I think he's serious about his
Yeah,
business, and he knows. He's a filmmaker. He knows what he wants, what works, and what doesn't on his set, and that's why he makes such great action comedy
Yeah.
thrill. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, he does.
he's
He-
a
he
genre
makes-
all unto himself.
He makes very well thought out movies that shouldn't be that deep.
This movie is a really great balance of completely disturbing graphic violence
Yes. Yes.
and humor. And the humor isn't just Eddie Murphy like being the clumps.
No.
It's like,
It's a
his
real
bits-
character that's just funny.
Yeah, his bits ring true. They're funny. Watching him destroy that redneck bar,
Such a great scene.
and the best part of that scene is the look on his face as he exits. That was like, I can't believe I got away with that.
yeah.
You know?
I should have been murdered.
Exactly. It's like, whoa, it's Bugs Bunny all the way. Bugs frickin' Bunny.
Critic Michael Sregow, who visited the set for a few days during production, said,
The producers recommended D'Souza to Hill because they thought he'd be good at adding a light touch to the action. Hill didn't find D'Souza fast enough or a style of comic writing appropriate to the movie. He thought the writer contributed gags instead of personality touches, very few of which were used, and he just didn't develop the rapport with D'Souza that he'd later have with Gross.
Walter Hill brought on Larry Gross to work on the script 3 weeks prior to shooting. He told Gross,
I've been working this fella. While I like him, I know it's not going to work out.
Hill told Murphy that it's not a comedy, it was a serious movie with a funny character in it. Gross says his main contributions were the idea that Reggie Hammond wanted badly to have sex after 3 years in prison, Nick Nolte having a relationship with his girlfriend that mirrored the frustration Eddie was having, and improving...
The nuances of the relationships between Nick and his girl, his boss, and the killers. The killers were sharpened up and made more interesting.
Gross also said...
People had this perception of Walter being melancholy. And now that he's made this film, no one thinks he's melancholy anymore.
Yeah, Larry Gross literally rewrote the script up until the last day of shooting.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it was just a constant.
Well, when you're tailoring the movie, this is why it was brilliant, because it wasn't like, oh, we don't have a script, we don't have a story. It was tailoring the dialogue and the situations to the strengths of these characters,
Right.
and these actors. I mean, Nolte, he's a genius, man. That guy is he's a classically trained,
He's brilliant.
thinker. And then, Murphy is just a hungry kid who wants to learn and is just naturally cool, funny, and watchable. And it's like the Hill and the writers really exploited.
Oh yeah, totally. Yep. So the cast: Nick Nolte, Inspector Jack Cates. He had starred previously in The Deep, based on the Peter Benchley novel in 1977, Who Will Stop the Rain, a movie about the Vietnam War in 1978, and North Dallas 40, about pro football in 1979.
North Dallas 40 is good.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, like, their pains and,
And being real, yeah.
And it's like, they didn't get paid a lot back then, and it was just the trudge of being football players. It's really... I think Mac Davis was the other star in that. I think it was he and Mac Davis.
Yeah,
the
that
football
sounds right.
guys.
Yeah.
But I recommend that. I think he also, I don't know what went on with my voice there for a second, but I think he also starred in a soap opera where he got his start.
Oh, that's very possible. I just looked at his film credits. I wasn't looking at his TV stuff. So it's very possible. James Remar is Albert Gans, the enemy, the antagonist. Starred in The Warriors, but previously with Walter Hill, and then later played Dexter's father in Dexter.
He was a ghost.
He was. He was not real. He was a figment of his imagination.
I remember seeing Nick Nolte in The Deep. The Deep was kind of like, I watched The Deep because they, after Jaws was successful, they put a shark in the water. It wasn't even about that. It was about treasure hunters or whatever. Yeah. But I liked him so much. And what I thought was so cool about Nolte is his character didn't wear a wetsuit. He just put on his stuff and wore No. He wore like a dress shirt and pants and jeans. It's like he just was wearing his clothes.
Here we go. Let's go.
I just thought he was the coolest guy. He was just such a cool dude. He just a gruff guy.
Nolte, it's really funny because Nick Nolte is apparently like just a big teddy bear. Like he's apparently the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And because his voice and because of his giant stature, everyone wants him to play this mean, gruff dude. To the point where Larry Gross would talk about how Nolte was always trying to pull back.
Yeah.
And like and Hill was like, no, you gotta get meaner. You gotta get meaner. And he was just like, man, I don't really want to.
But that was so brilliant because we watched the movie again. It's not really streaming anywhere. We found it on Pluto TV.
Yeah.
Which was like watching it again in the 80s because we had 7,000 commercials.
On TV,
and I'm just going to tell you this, Arizona. F you. F you. I'm never coming to your stupid state again because you just made me watch your stupid
commercial
Discover
8,000 times.
Commercial 4,000
Wonder.
times.
Yeah.
Ugh, between that and like drugs.
But it is available for free, so you can watch it for free.
Yeah, it's just like it goes from being an hour-and-a-half movie to watching one of the extended versions of Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God, it
with,
went forever.
With the 7 million commercials they force you to watch, and they also bust in at like the stupidest times, like right in the middle of like a sentence, and be like, "Hey, is somebody good?"
And it's a jump
Discover
cut.
Arizona.
It's literally a jump cut. It's not even like a fade out or anything. It's just bang, bang. There it is.
Yeah. So anyway, so be prepared for that when you watch it. But man, saying what you said, it added to like his uncomfortable, like Nolte's character, Cates. He's super uncomfortable in his skin. You know, he's a little pudgy. He's not like he's not some big old action star or whatever.
No,
he's just this kind of drunk,
very working man.
He's just he's a guy that wants to solve crimes and not fight with his buddy.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. And he just doesn't want to be hassled, and he wants to get it done. He's just so put upon, But he's also self-aware. It's a very complex character because it'd be, and I think him questioning that and him being a softie added the touches. Added the touches that makes the evolution of their relationship believable.
Yeah, totally.
And it's a very, very cool and organic buddy film.
It is. Yeah. It is. David Patrick Kelly played Luther Kelly. He was one of the bad guys. He's the one whose girlfriend got kidnapped by James Remar.
He's the one that says, "Warrior."
Yes, he was the main antagonist in The Warriors, which is really funny because they made him look much bigger in that movie than he really is.
He's also the main antagonist in Dreamscape.
Oh yeah, that's right.
With
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, and Steven Spielberg's wife.
Oh yeah.
Schlooby de Boobity.
Kate
Capshaw.
There you go.
Not a very good movie. The dude though, he turns into like a big snake at the end, so it's kind of.
Dreamscape is definitely got a place in people's hearts, but it's not a very good movie.
They didn't remake it because it's like assassinating people in their dream. It was like the pre-Freddy Krueger. It was like if the CIA were Freddy Krueger. That's Dreamscape.
David Patrick Kelly later starred in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was in The Crow with Brandon Lee, and he played Harry S. Truman in the Clint Eastwood film Flags of Our Fathers.
Yes. He was good.
Sonny Landham as Billy Bear. He was as they kept calling him over and over again, the Indian in the movie.
I love that actor.
He was also in The Warriors and in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
He was in Firewalker, the very first movie I ever saw in the movie theater.
Oh, wow.
With Chuck Norris.
Yeah, another big action guy.
Yeah. And most famously, and everyone knows him from
Predator.
In Predator. Yeah.
Come and get me.
He was fantastic in that movie.
What's up, Dutch?
But he was another one of those guys that you would never know his name. I mean, this movie is just full of character actors.
He was just a buff Native American guy that showed up in action movies. He must have just been like, I just have this weird. I picture the '80s, like the Paramount gym.
Yeah.
And there's there's that guy and like Schwarzenegger and Rambo and all these guys just
working hanging out in the.
Hey, you guys go get a smoothie?
I gotta get in my steps.
Wow, let's go get a smoothie.
Brian James as Inspector Ben Kehoe.
Brio.
Yes, Brian. He portrayed Leon Kowalski in Blade Runner, what he's most famous for. Another character actor that was in everything.
Yeah.
He appeared in Southern Comfort, another 48 Hours, the sequel to 48 Hours, Silverado, Tango and Cash, Red Heat, The Player, and The Fifth Element.
He's just got this face, man. He's just got like a hound dog face. He can play super dumb or super spooky.
Like a hatchet face. Like he's very,
And good for him, too, because I don't know if you remember the plot to Another 48 Hours.
I don't think I've ever seen Another 48 Hours.
You're not missing a lot. But did that come out in the 90s?
1990.
Yeah. Kehoe and his partner were the bad guys. They
Ended
was
up
like
being
crooked
the
cops.
bad guys,
So he got a much more expanded role.
Yeah. Well, he'd been in a lot of stuff by then. He proved his worth.
He was in trouble.
Annette O'Toole played Elaine Marshall, the beau of Nick Nolte.
Peter O'Toole's daughter.
Peter O'Toole's daughter. Guest starred in a ton of TV shows during the 70s. Her film career never really took off. She was in movies and stuff, but she's had a huge TV career.
I remember her big breakout, and everybody thought she was going to be a huge star, was Cat People. The remake of Cat People.
It came out literally the year, like a few months before.
Right, that was her
48
year.
Hours.
And Malcolm McDowell and Natasha Kinski.
Yeah.
She was in that, and then she did a topless scene, and it was O'Toole's daughter doing the boobies, and it was like this huge
the boobies.
Is
that what you called it back in the day?
That's what they said. There's
a clause in your contract.
Was like tonight on the news, Annette O'Toole, Peter O'Toole's daughter is doing the boobies.
Frank McRae is Captain Hayden.
That's the way it is.
Captain Hayden was the police chief. He was in 1941 in Used Cars, two very underrated comedies.
Yeah. He was also reprised his role as Screamin' Mimi.
And this is the funny thing,
Hero,
is that rewatching it again, I was thinking of his character from Last Action Hero, and I was like, he does this all the time. Like, he's in this all the time, but it was just to make fun of his part in 48 Hours.
He probably was just like, okay, look, I'm going to need a lot of hot water with some lemon and some honey in it. Okay. And look at you guys up in there. And he pointed with his thumb and his fingers. His hand was in his thumb. And he had one of those weird, like, super bent back thumbs.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, I get really fascinated by hands.
He was a great actor.
Amazing. And he was kind of the I think the prototypical screaming commander was Starsky and Hutch.
Right.
I think he was kind of a...
definitely furthered the stereotype of the screaming
commander. We went to Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, it was just it's always the screaming black commander cop.
That's true. Jonathan Banks is Detective Algren, who, of course, we all know eventually went on to Breaking Bad.
He was also in Beverly Hills Cop.
He was in Beverly Hills Cop. He was in a ton of stuff. I mean, he's had a very good career.
There was a group of guys, like the Walter Hill and the Scott brothers, these guys that were making movies back then. There were just these journeyman actors that were in all those movies.
Yeah.
Banks was one of them. Johnny Pantaleone.
Pantaleone.
Joey Pants.
Joey Pants.
Pantaleone. He was another guy that was in all that stuff. It was just they had all these like Goombas.
Yeah,
they just threw into stuff, and they were henchmen, and they were
yeah.
this or cops or whatever, and you could make a really great career.
Oh yeah, a great career. Margot Rose is Casey. She went on to parts in Night Court, which is what I immediately recognized her from. And she was also played the guest lead in the most acclaimed episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Which episode is that?
It was called like Immortal Nights or something, or Illuminated Nights or something. I don't know. I don't remember it. I've watched it. I don't remember.
I need to rewatch that show.
It was a great show. And you should, because Denise Crosby, playing Sally, obviously was also in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and was the granddaughter of Bing Crosby, who also at one point did the boobies.
Well, she did. As he said, she did the boobies in 48 hours.
Yes.
But I think she got fired from the Next Generation for doing Playboy.
Yeah, she was. Which the irony is that she then came back and played her own daughter. So like it didn't.
They were like,
they were like, nah, it's fine. It wasn't as bad as we thought.
I mean, it's really kind of sexist to be.
Yeah.
You know, a woman has a choice to do whatever she wants.
It wasn't just that. She wanted to get out. Like she was didn't want to be locked into it every.
It was like I think you're right. I think it was like a David Caruso situation where it got a little bit too big for them britches and thought they were going to have a big career outside of that, and then decided nothing happened, and then come crawling back to TV. Not Crosby as much as Caruso, that redheaded bastard.
I'm looking right at Chad Michael Murray while you're saying this. Olivia Brown is Candy, who best known for her role as Detective Trudy Joplin in the NBC crime drama series Miami Vice.
Oh, Trudy, I love Trudy.
She was so good.
Ooh, Trudy and Gina and Trudy.
Yeah,
they were the Crockett and Tubbs, the female Crockett and Tubbs.
Yeah, she was great. She's fantastic. So the filming started on.
What else? I just got to say though, her entire part is Eddie Murphy coming up to her and being like, "Hey, I've been in prison a long time. I really need sex. Give me sex." And she's like, "Can she do better than that?" And he's like, "Nope." And then he's like, "I don't have any money for a hotel, so you're gonna have to pay." And she's like, "What? I'm gonna have to pay, and you're not?" And then he gets taken away, and then somehow that charmed her. And she does end up having sex. And then and he's like, "Here, take this." She's like, "I'm not a hooker." And he's like, "Oh, just buy yourself something nice. Wait 6 months and we'll come and have some baby." But it's
yeah. And she seemed totally like it was like, "Oh, you are charming."
Yeah. That whole like quote unquote trim hunt aspect of the movie was pretty gross.
Yeah.
You know, watching it this time. But it makes sense. I mean, he's a young man who just got out of prison after 2.5 years. Let's be honest. He's gonna want
He's gonna need to fulfill some needs
to have some sexual gratification at him. Yeah, Don't be a prude.
You literally argued against yourself.
Yes.
So filming started on May 17th, 1982. Murphy started a few weeks after principal photography began because he was finishing up his season of Saturday Night Live.
He didn't really come into the movie until about a third of the way in.
Yeah, it was definitely He was the kickoff of the second act.
Exactly.
The shoot went well, but Hill ran into problems with studio executives. Michael Eisner, then head of Paramount, was worried that the film was not funny enough. Hill and his co-screenwriter Larry Gross wrote more material tailored to Nolte's and Murphy's personalities. By Hill's account, they rewrote Murphy's character right up to the very last day of shooting. Executives also found the footage of the gunfight in the hotel to be way too violent and were worried that it would kill the film's humor.
God, that's what's so brilliant about Walter Hill is he's got Peckinpah's violent sensibilities.
Yeah.
The way he can mix it like with Midnight Run.
Yeah.
You know, nobody does action comedy better than this guy, but he doesn't flinch from the violence. It's, I think it's his kind of like violence is effed up, man.
It's a thing. I mean, are you reacting to this? We're supposed to.
Because it is brutal, man. Jonathan Banks.
Oh.
You know, that whole point where he's just when Jonathan Banks comes walking down the stairs, clicking it's like, first of all, Banks, make sure it's freaking loaded before you come down the stairs, dummy. I know you've been shot, but you're still a cop.
Would have been a much shorter movie if you had bullets in that gun.
But he comes down like a dummy, click, 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 click. It's like, okay, you clicked it.
Yeah.
So pathetic to the point where the hostage is like, oh my God. She's just like, oh, that's so sad.
It's the one point in a movie where they actually ran out of bullets.
And he's sitting there with this look on his face like, don't kill me. He's got such a sad look on his face. Yeah, and then he's like, don't you do it. Don't you give up the gun, Gates. Don't you do it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Kate's he doesn't know what to do.
Well, yeah.
And then he gives him the gun, and the gun, bam, bam, bam,
And then immediately,
shoots him with
yeah.
his own gun. Kate's gives him the gun. He's killing
It's
cops
so
with
sad,
Kate's
yeah.
gun, man.
Sad.
That's got to mess with his mind, baby. No, but I'm just
Yes.
I got crazy.
Yes,
but
it does.
but it wasn't so much the violence as it was the emotional aspect of the violence that was so hard to take, man. It's easy to watch people get blown. Like you look at Rambo 8 or whatever when he's
Yeah.
sitting in the truck with a with a M60
Oh,
or whatever,
whatever
just
that
blowing people
giant
away for
thing is,
45 minutes, just blowing chunks
Pieces
off of
people flying off.
Yeah, that's gross, but it's not as effective as
No.
seeing this poor guy, like,
Yeah.
get shot in cold blood with the other cop's gun. I mean, there's a story there
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that violence. There's emotion to the violence.
The executives told Hill that he would never work for Paramount again because of that scene.
Yeah, well, Paramount's lost.
Paramount, the movie made a bunch of money, so I mean, I don't know if that
Did
was
that really
necessarily
last?
true. Probably not.
You'll never. I wonder how many times "You'll never work for Paramount again," or "You'll never work in this town again."
Cha-ching, cha-ching. Oh, hey, actually.
Did I say that? Oh, I was just kidding. Welcome back, Walter. Let's have a cigar.
It was widely known on set that Paramount executives hated what they had seen of Murphy's performance in Dailies and wanted to fire him, but Nick Nolte and Walter Hill fought to keep him.
Yeah, I don't think they understood it.
They didn't get it.
Because
yeah.
Eddie Murphy, I mean, the fact that his first scene, he's singing a police song.
Yeah.
Roxanne.
Yeah.
Put on a red. I mean, just doing it so, hilariously. And then, by the way, Walkmans didn't have microphones that you could get right into people's earphones, by the way. Nitpicky.
Yeah, well.
But still, it's like, they probably were like, well, he should have been singing James Brown or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, he zigged when they zagged.
Yeah,
He wasn't
yeah.
playing as, and there was no stereotype
Yeah.
to Murphy's character.
No.
Murphy's character could have, except for the racial crap coming out of Kate's mouth.
Well, yeah.
But which look, man, that's a story. Kate's uses a lot of watermelon and, a lot of really
Just,
crappy
yeah.
stuff. But he admits, he's like, look, I'm sorry about all the,
Yeah,
he's like, it was a way to control you.
He felt like he had to.
And yeah, and
because that's just what it was.
it was more like, hey, this is what cops do.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
gross. It's like,
yeah.
He was basically explaining why cops are such assholes. But the thing is, it's like Eddie Murphy didn't just take it. Eddie Murphy wanted to get laid and have a steak.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
got pushed to the point where he beat the crap out of Nick Nolte. That fight is so
They
great.
beat the crap out of each other. Oh
Yeah,
my
but
God.
I mean,
But it was
Murphy.
yeah.
It was cool that they gave Murphy the edge. Like,
Yeah,
he
for
was
sure,
a
for
young.
sure.
It's like,
He knew what he was doing. Yeah.
and that's how it is with these love story buddy things. When these platonic fallen lovies,
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
beat the crap out of each other before you start kissing.
It's true. It's true. Actors remembered Murphy on set as a diligent performer who was open to suggestion and stuck to the script. Murphy just wanted to learn. He came into the film with no film experience beyond shooting that awful thing for Best Defense, which was just an added thing, and nobody wanted to see that.
No. Not even Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy.
Hill purposely scheduled Murphy's bigger scenes to be shot at the end of the production, such as the country western bar scene, because he wanted to make sure that Murphy was more confident.
Oh, yeah.
And because he knew those scenes had to hit, and he knew they had to be really good.
Well, Murphy was still super hungry at this point. He had a lot of success on TV with he's dominating Saturday Night Live at this point.
Yeah.
And he's setting his sights on the next phase, which is dominating film.
Right.
And instead of being, and this is what made him a star, instead of being some hubristic attitude, bringing his entourage, which he was eventually, bringing his entourage on set.
Yeah.
He had earned it by then. But he came on to learn to dominate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he was a hungry, smart kid who was like, okay, I'm working with Nick Nolte, who's a great actor. I'm working with Walter Hill, who's a great director. This is a great way for me
Exactly.
to learn how to be a movie star.
Yeah. I'm gonna learn from the best. I'm gonna absorb everything I can.
Yeah.
And because he was a big fish in a little pond, and he wanted to be a big fish in a big pond.
Exactly.
And
He wanted to be the biggest fish in the sea.
he knew, and it's just amazing to me that he was 18, 19, 20 years old, knowing that this is what he had to do.
It's confidence, man. That guy had
crazy.
It's like I said, he's the coolest MFer that ever graced Hollywood.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just it's that confidence that guy has.
The country western bar scene was the reason Eddie Murphy agreed to do the movie. Like, he read that scene and goes, I have to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's, yeah.
That's again, woo in a movie. But again, I mean, he saw the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, I can showcase there. You know,
100%. Yeah.
I can be Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
I know. I've been waiting for this moment, watching Peter Sellers, watching Bugs Bunny, watching all this stuff as a foster kid, you know, watching TV all the time. I am ready. And this is going to make me a star. And that's why he's so smart to take it.
Such a good scene. It's such an incredible scene.
Oh, God.
And it's so brilliant. And you're right, at the end, coming out of the fact that he got away with it.
Yeah.
And like, it was just brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah. Walter Hill, after the scene got shot, turned to Joel Silver and said,
I'm rich.
everyone knew immediately. Hill told Larry Gross,
I got to get busy and get the scene done so this kid can jack up his price.
They knew. Everyone knew that he was going to be huge after this.
Well, yeah, it's like Saturday Night Live when we talked about last week. Even his first appearance when he didn't have any lines, we still knew we wanted to know who is this kid.
Yeah.
And then we found out and we were like, well, we want to know more.
Eminently watchable. And Larry Gross.
Electric, man.
Yes.
That's the only way to. There's not a lot of performers that are electric. It's like him and Prince. You know, it's like
Larry Gross actually kept a production diary that was published online while he was writing and shooting 48 Hours. They released it in 2008. Some of the fun little bits from it was that Nick Nolte would refill a mug of vodka and OJ every 10 minutes. Literally drinking on set the entire day, and according to Larry Gross, you'd have no idea he was drunk.
Yeah, it's no secret that Nick Nolte had some substance issues.
Yes.
But that's a good working alcoholic, which were a ton of these actors in the 70s.
Yeah.
They learned from the old guys, Robert Shaw, Robert Reed, the Roberts.
Richard Burton. Dick Burton.
Dick Burton. Drinking. But that's, but a good alcoholic will drink vodka during the day because you can sustain yourself.
That's true. That is true.
And it don't stink.
Nick Nolte knew that very well. Larry Gross thought that the Murphys' rendition of Roxanne was one of the funniest things he'd ever seen.
One of the greatest introductions to a character, too, by the way.
Yeah. But they would, according to Larry Gross, him and Walter Hill and Lawrence Gordon and some other people, they would sit around and just talk about like old westerns and philosophize about like John Wayne and like Walter Hill thought John Wayne was just an asshole and was a complete bully. Yeah, just complete total bully.
Well, John Wayne was a bully.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, if you ever watch him, there's some great like drunken speeches that he gives. He's very, it's getting to be goddamn. That's the speech that Howard Stern played all the time.
No,
goddamn ridiculous. It's all about the hippies and the dippies and the doopies. But it was that must have been so fun at that time to listen to the guys that were old school and new school.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, and I can't. This is the shame is that the production diary for this was released in 2008 on a movie site called Movie City News. And it was early on, and they released the whole thing, and now it's gone.
Oh.
And there's articles that came out in 2008 that talk about it and have excerpts, but the full production diary is not there anymore.
Really?
It's really disappointing because it looks fascinating.
You can't get it anywhere?
I looked for like 3 hours. I could not. I could just find bits and pieces of stuff that was quoted in other articles.
Nice. You're like Indiana Jones.
I was trying, man, because I really wanted to read the whole thing.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Although I did find the original or the final script for 48 Hours as well.
Nice.
That was listed on.
Did it match up? Did you read it?
I didn't go far into
You didn't go word for word watching the movie?
No.
Comparing it? That's not right.
Yeah.
You were playing script
How dare they? How dare they?
Mr. Murphy, that's not right. It's supposed to be, it is money, not it's money.
Well, this was not a Coen Brothers movie, so I don't think that was an issue. James Horner, of future best-selling score of all time, Titanic, scored the film.
You know who his dad was?
Little Jack Horner?
Yep. You know what he used to do?
Jump over a pie
He'd
or
sit in
something?
the corner.
Sit in a corner, that's right.
You know what he would do in the corner?
He would eat pie?
Sitting there and he'd eat his curds and whey.
Curds and whey? Yeah. Apparently I just want to
You don't
eat
know
pie.
a lot about old Jack Horner's daddy, do you?
No. The score was not actually physically released until like 2011.
Really?
There were bootlegs from Europe that you could get, but it was super weird. I don't know why.
That is weird, because there was a couple of big... I mean, maybe it was some sort of rights issue or something with the Busboys songs. Because, no offense to the Busboys, I absolutely loved them as a young man. Laser Tag Larry and I had the Busboys albums, 100%. But all their songs pretty much sound alike.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They're
They're fun to watch, though. I mean, they're
in
in the movie. They have a whole sequence in the movie. So
They're they're very charismatic. They're great. I saw
fun.
them in concert.
I would have
see.
loved to have seen them live. That would have been amazing.
Great show. Yeah, exactly. It's just you only need to know one song because they're all pretty much the same song.
48 Hours opened in the United States on a Wednesday, December 8th, 1982, with its first weekend the same as The Toy and Airplane 2, the sequel, and finished behind them in third place for the weekend with a gross of $4.3 million. And for the full 5 days, it was like $5.2 million.
Yeah, because nobody really trusted Eddie Murphy, like as an
yeah.
opening, you know. But it grew word of mouth, man. It did really well, right?
Yeah, it ended up grossing $78.8 million overall in the U.S. and Canada box office to become the seventh highest grossing film of 1982.
Excellent. And what do you know its budget?
No, there was no information about budget.
They keep that stuff pretty tightly.
Sometimes. It's weird. It's weird. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't.
Probably when they do, it's because of some sort of accounting shenanigans.
I'm guessing it probably had something to do along the lines of the soundtrack not being released. Like, there was definitely some, like, yeah, no, the movie made exactly $0.
But I remember that weekend, and you know, I'd theater bounce that weekend, and I remember that's the movie I went back to see again.
Oh, nice.
And because it was just like so awesome. I mean, The Toy was funny, and you know, I love Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Oof. But it was and it was kind of funny, but it wasn't a great movie. It was just odd. And Airplane 2 was funny, but it just wasn't Airplane 1.
It tried too hard to be the first movie.
And then 48 Hours was like, oh man, this is brutal cop movie that's super funny with my favorite actor of the time, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I mean, that Laser Tag Larry and I went back 2 or 3 times to see that bad boy.
Nice. 48 Hours was nominated and won several critical awards. Walter Hill won the Grand Prix Award at the Cognac Festival du Film Policier.
That's where they drink a lot of cognac and talk about cops.
So much. Eddie Murphy was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Acting Debut Male. The film's screenplay was nominated for the Edgar Allan Poe Award for Best Motion Picture. And James Horner won an award for his score at the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards.
Nice.
A sequel, another 48 Hours, was released on June 8th, 1990.
Yeah. It's... A lot of the sequels they made in the 90s to movies in the 80s just weren't good. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah, they tried.
I walked out of that one.
Yeah. Oh, wow, really?
Beverly Hills Cop 3. I snuck into it.
Oh, no.
And didn't pay for it and still walked out. That's how bad it was. But 48 Hours, too, it just... It suffered from the problem that drives me nuts in these sequels. Is they spend the first movie creating this really cool friendship and dynamic, and then in the sequel, they destroy it and try to rebuild it again. It doesn't work. That's why Lethal Weapon 2 was such a great sequel.
Right.
Because they didn't do that stupid trope. They just made them better friends.
Yeah.
You know, and then brought in a third guy to be the foil.
Right.
You know?
Because no matter what, they already did this in the first movie. They became friends, or as close as you can, you know, considering who they are. But, like, it just doesn't make sense to go back. Like, you're retreading the same plot. And
exactly. And there's no reason to make a sequel. That movie is very well contained.
Yeah,
we're curious about our buddies, but we can pretty much, you know, guess he got out of prison. They were probably friends. He got him a car, you know. Then they opened up a PI business together. See, that's what would have been the okay, Hollywood.
Oh, here we go.
If I would have written the 48 Hours sequel, it would have been this. Cates gets fired from being the cops for some sort of brutal, you know, police brutality thing or some sort of crap because he doesn't play by the books.
Yeah.
And after Reggie gets out of prison, they get their PI license and they put up a shingle, and then these PIs, you know, and they're still, you know, because he's got his, you know, got my connection with the police. And so they get this case or something where they have to, you can go back to the kidnapping or whatever, where they have 48 hours to blah, blah, blah. They have to go off the books. They get these guys. So, you know, you still get their friendship, and you get them working on their strengths.
Right.
Yeah, and you have these things, but not with the constrictions of being cops and outside the cops, especially when they made the cops bad guys in the actual
Right.
thing.
Right.
This way, I don't know. There's so many ways to go. That was just off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. It
that's,
just it felt very lazy, and it definitely was. Eddie Murphy was huge, and it was like, okay, we can make money off this.
But Nolte was doing really well at this time too, because I think
Yeah.
he had sobered up, and this is the beginning of like Down and Out in Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
and all of his,
Yeah.
his renaissance.
Right,
as an
right,
actor.
and taking very serious roles like with the Prince of Tides and.
But I think
and
this was
stuff,
before all of this. This was kind of his cash grab before.
Yeah, I mean, it
moving
came out
on
in
to-
1990, so like it was one of those like, yeah, I'm not going to say no, and I'm sure it's because he liked working with Eddie Murphy, and
Sure,
and
he liked the money.
Yeah, he liked that money.
And it must have been weird. I would love to hear what it was like to work with Eddie Murphy in '90
Right.
instead
versus
82 because he probably at this point did come in with the entourage.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
with all of the stipulations. And,
Yeah.
I wonder if
I
it
mean,
was
even
still...
by this point, I think Murphy had directed Harlem Nights.
I think one of the reasons why Eddie Murphy made another 48 Hours is because he wanted to direct Harlem Nights
yeah.
with his hero
Yeah, with
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Yeah.
And so I think to do that, he had to agree to do 48 Hours, another 48
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a contract deal thing.
because it feels like a contract deal thing.
Yeah,
It feels.
yeah.
I don't think anybody was like into it.
Clamoring for
Yeah.
a sequel to the movie.
I just see I see Nolte like reading the newspaper, and I see Eddie Murphy like listen to his whatever tracks he's laying down for his new album with his entourage, and it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
I just don't see anybody. I see Walter Hill just being like, this sucks.
It just seems very odd that 8 years later, they're like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
There had to be behind the scenes,
and it's
contract stuff.
like you said, it's super lazy because now it's like Nick Nolte's in trouble. He's
Yeah,
got a manslaughter charge against him.
Right.
And so he's got to get Reggie Hammond, a newly released convict, to figure out who the Iceman. It's just this convoluted, dumb thing, and it ends up being the cops. And it's just Eddie Murphy is not young and hungry, and Nick Nolte isn't grizzled. He's looking pretty good and fresh faced. So it's not the same thing, and it's just sad.
The movie got remade in India in Hindi in 1984 as Andar Bahar, which apparently was a very highly successful film, and then also got remade again in India in 1982 under the language of Canada, which I looked it up because I had never heard of this before. Kannada. It's a language used in southwestern India.
Interesting.
I had never heard of it, and I was like, it has to be pronounced differently, and it's not.
The copyright issues in India are sketchy at best. So you'll
100%,
see like
yes.
Spider-Man movies and
Yeah,
Spider-Girl.
yeah.
I mean, just type in India and any of your favorite movies,
Yeah.
and you'll see something spectacular.
The best part about the movie that was made in the Canadian language in India in 1982 was that it was called Police File, which is just the most generic, awful name ever. In 2017, the Safdie brothers announced they would helm a remake and co-write the script with the Gerard Carmichael.
Ooh, well, I love Gerard Carmichael.
Yes.
The Carmichael Show was awesome. It had Lil Rel Howery, Tiffany Haddish, David Alan Grier, Loretta
Yeah.
Devine.
Oh,
It
David
was
Alan Grier's
really
great.
funny, and he was trying to do like a All in the Family kind of. He was trying to do more of that kind of show, and it was really interesting. It was really funny, but it never had like a set time slot.
Yeah,
man. That
yeah.
thing would just
It's just
jump
everywhere.
It
Yeah.
would disappear for like a year and then come back with 6 episodes. It was so mishandled, and it's just a shame because that show was really, really
Well,
awesome.
it is a shame because I like Gerard Carmichael, but I really don't like the Safdie brothers.
Yeah, they did. What did they do?
They did Uncut Gems,
Right.
which I knew a lot of people liked.
I didn't
but
see it.
that is the closest I've ever come to walking out of a movie theater.
I didn't watch that movie because of your hatred for it.
The end of that movie, I literally wanted to grab the Safdie brothers and knock their heads together and be like, "Why did you waste my time?"
Ooh.
I hated that movie so much.
Okay, so tell us how you feel.
To the point where I didn't even see their other movies. I was just like, "Why?"
What other movies did they do?
They did Good Time with
Robert Pattinson.
and they did a couple others, but they usually act in their own movies. And like, I watching them in like interviews and stuff, it was just like, I don't even want to be around you people.
Now, you said that the development for this remake changed so much that it turned into a different
By
movie.
December 2019, the Safdies announced that they had reworked it so much that it became a completely different movie.
Are they making this movie?
And I believe they are making this movie.
With Gerard Carmichael?
I don't think so.
Well then forget it.
Yeah.
I'm not in.
Yeah. So I think he was brought in to kind of do the Eddie Murphy part and like and add that stuff.
He would have been great.
Yeah.
He would have been great if they were going to redo this movie. And you know me, not a fan of remakes.
Yeah.
But if they were going to do it, he would have been a really interesting choice because he's got that same swagger and attitude, but a totally different comedian.
Yeah.
But he has still that confidence that just makes him cool, watchable, and unflappable.
Yeah.
You know? He's just like, he's
he's
another guy
he's
that's
very
just
fun to watch.
I hope he takes off, man, because he's a really talented cat.
All right, we are out of time, so we will be back next week with Trading Places.
Yeah, oof, baby.
I'm so excited about covering this.
This has been a really fun month because so much of Eddie Murphy's output for the last 20 years has been kind of, let's just say subpar.
Suspect.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a nice little renaissance the last few years.
He's stayed away from the giant blockbuster movies, and he's gotten more down into the nitty-gritty of the acting and stuff. He's gotten better.
I guess what I'm trying to say is it's really cool to watch Eddie Murphy become a star.
Yeah.
And from going from Saturday Night Live to this and then to Trading Places, it's just watching this crazy lightning bolt of a talent kid go from this raw, unrefinable talent to just kind of becoming the superstar. And it's incredible how much charisma this kid had.
Yes.
Wow.
That's it. We're out of time. The film is often credited as being the first in the body. Wow.
The story is traditional. Sorry.
Yeah.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, The $6 Million Man, already in progress.